begins.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us today for our webinar, Braille Sense Top Tech Tips. We're going to talk about some of the questions our tech support guys get asked most often and what the answers to those questions are. So I'll be your MC today, and Louis is one of our tech support team members, and he'll be doing a lot of the talking today. And then we also have Andy on the line, one of our territory sales managers, and he will be on the line to answer any questions about features, usability, things like that. Started. So we're going to cover kind of a list of questions we're going to cover today. We're going to talk a little bit about UEB, how to enter information and read a Word document. We'll talk a little bit about NEMIS and connecting to Wi-Fi. A lot of questions here, so I'm not going to read through all of them, but we will go through all of these. And then at the end, we will have time for you guys to ask your own questions. Okay, so Louis, the first question here, will the Braille Sense U2 replace my computer?
So I think that answer is just kind of a mix. It kind of depends on what you're trying to achieve. It's really good for daily note-taking tasks. It is a note taker. It works very well with email. It does a decent job with web browsing. So it's kind of one of these devices, you know, it's very useful on the go, but unfortunately it won't be a total replacement for the computer, but it'll do, you know, most tasks that you know, that the average person would need to do in college or in schools or in the workplace.
Okay, and is it kind of safe to draw a comparison between a note taker and, say, an iPad for a student who's sighted, where you could take an iPad in class, and there's a lot of reasons that you would want an iPad instead of a bulky laptop computer, especially for a student or someone who's traveling. But at the same time, you'd want that computer at home or back in the office to go and do some other tasks on, or to use in combination.
So they're actually pretty similar as far as the out-of-the-box capabilities that they offer, with the exception that, you know, your iPad is a touch screen. So if you're not you know, if you're not too comfortable with the touch screen, a note taker might be the way to go. Of course, with these note takers, they also serve as, you know, Braille displays as well. So you don't really have to choose one over the other, but sometimes a note taker can be a bit more convenient, especially if you need to do a lot of typing and you're not too comfortable with a QWERTY kind of a keyboard and you need the Braille access. A note taker is going to be able to handle that for you and give you the instant on and off capabilities like an iPad would. But for some people, I think having the Braille display and Braille keyboard is, you know, sometimes more convenient than just a touch screen or a QWERTY.
And you want to talk about how to use Microsoft Word documents on the Braille Sense U2. Can you type directly into a Word document, or are there other steps you need to take?
Yeah, so actually the Braille Sense, we can actually read and write Microsoft Word documents, and we can treat our Word documents as your average Braille file. So we can actually write using our UEB or US Braille contractions, and the Braille Sense will do the conversion for you into Word, so you don't have anything to worry about. So when you're ready to share it with your friends, you can email it or Dropbox it to them or put it on a thumb drive. You can send it to a printer, and we also retain and can modify the format and have that format stay inside of a Word, Microsoft Word document without losing it. So that's kind of one of the important benefits of the Braille Sense.
And do customers ever get a computer Braille is required message? Do they ever see anything like that?
Not in a Microsoft Word document, no. In fact, because of UEB, we're doing away with that. In our next upgrade, you won't see that anymore if you have UEB enabled. If you're not using UEB, you will see it for, you know, your typical usernames, passwords, email addresses, but you should never see that in a Word document.
Okay. And then can you talk more about the UEB? How do you turn on the UEB, turn off, select it, that kind of thing?
So the quickest way to do that, there are several ways to do it, but the quickest way, the hotkey is going to be backspace, enter, and B, and that's B as in Braille. And so each time you do this backspace, enter, B, it's actually going to switch your Braille display to each supported language. So if it lands on a language you don't want, just do it again until it announces the language you do want. And UEB, we consider it a separate language from US. No problem. And then guys too, if you guys need any of this stuff, you know, step by step, or want to hear exactly how the Braille Sense makes this work, let me know and I'll be more than happy to demonstrate. I've got one here. So
how do you use PowerPoint?
So our PowerPoint, it's only a PowerPoint viewer for now, but that's what you need, I'd say about 96% of the time. So when you're presenting, you're going to go to the PowerPoint viewer. Now, it's kind of hidden here. So all you need to do is you need to just get a PowerPoint presentation transferred onto a thumb drive. And again, you can have it emailed to you. You can have it on a thumb drive. You can get it via Dropbox or, you know, even through a website. But no matter how you get it, you're going to find the PPT or PPTX file inside of your note taker under the File Manager, and then when you hit Enter on it, it will actually load the PowerPoint, and then you can move through this PowerPoint. You can go slide by slide by hitting the space bar to go to the next slide. Backspace goes to the previous slide, and each slide you get to, it actually will announce the title, and using your scroll keys, you can read each individual slide. If you have your Braille Sense connected to a USB-enabled VGA monitor, we can actually show the full PowerPoint presentation. So we can show the images, we can show the formatting, the text up there. We can even do simple, very simple animations.
And then, is there a one-handed mode on the Braille Sense U2?
There is a one-handed mode. The easiest way to access this, there's two ways, but the easiest way, in my opinion, I'll give you both ways. So the easiest way, in my opinion, is if you power on the Braille Sense, and then if you press F1, it'll say File Manager, and then you want to do dots 1, 2, 3, and the backspace key at the same time to enable one-handed mode. Now, when one-handed mode is turned on, the keyboard operates slightly different. You have to finish each command or letter with the space bar. So, for example, if I wanted to type like the word up, I would do .1, .3, .6 space, and it would insert my U, and then I'll do my .1, 2, 3, 4, followed by space, and it would insert my P. If I actually needed a space typed, I would have to hit the space bar twice to get a space. For any commands that require the use of the space bar, like getting to the top of the file, you need to press space bar first, then push dots 1, 2, 3, followed by the space bar again, and it will actually move you to the top of the document. That's pretty much how that works. And then, of course, to turn off one-handed mode, push F1, it says File Manager, and do your dots 1, 2, 3 with backspace to turn off one-handed mode. The second way, if you're interested, if you power on the machine while holding F3, that turns one-handed mode on. And then if you, the next time you power up the machine and you want one-handed mode off, you can hold your F4 key.
And our next question, do you have to look over a person's shoulder to read from the built-in LCD on the U2, or can you turn that around the other way?
You can actually force the Braille Sense to flip the LCD, and that is a setting in the global options, and you can access global options from anywhere by pressing space with O. And once in there, you just scroll down until you find Flip LCD, and you hit the space bar to turn that on and press enter to save.
Okay. Oh, and Andy just joined us. I've been looking for Andy so you can help out with some of these questions. And are there any functions on the Braille Sense U2 that are not on the U2 Mini?
The LCD screen is one. So there is a separate portable LCD screen that you could purchase, or you could use a VGA monitor. You don't get as many USB ports, so you actually have to use a gender cable, and that goes into your U2 Mini, and then you just connect your standard USB into the other end of this gender cable. But otherwise, the U2 Mini is exactly the same as the U2. It's just smaller.
Right. And do you or Andy, since you're here now, do you want to touch quickly on why there is an LCD on the U2, or why someone might want to add the LCD to the Mini?
Absolutely. I'd be glad to give it a shot. There are several reasons why the LCD is beneficial on the U2. The first one being in education. A lot of times when you have a young student or and they're working with their teachers more closely, or even a parent could be substituted where I said teacher before. But the LCD gives the ability of a person who can see to help you, whether it's with navigation, knowing where you are. If you get stuck somewhere, it gives a person the ability to see what's going on and to help you fix something if you need to, or just making sure that you're staying on track. So, for example, the teacher would be able to know that you are actually working on your assignment instead of out on the internet browsing around, doing something that would be a whole lot more interesting than your assignment at that time. The second reason that the display is on there, it's also a very powerful tool if you consider the deaf-blind population and you want to do things like face-to-face communications, or you want to be able to have the deaf-blind person type something and someone that can see can read the display. They can then answer back. If they know Braille, they could use the Braille keyboard, and of course, if not, they would have to use a QWERTY keyboard. But then the deaf-blind person could read the response on the Braille display. So face-to-face communications for that population, and then in education, the main purpose is going to be so that the student or an individual is always able to get help when they need it.
Back on the UEB topic, can you use UEB and DEMIS in the same document? How do you use those? How do you do that?
So you can. So the way to do this is wherever you need Nemeth in a document, you want to press backspace N to turn on Nemeth mode, and you're going to type all the Nemeth you need. Whenever you need literary Braille to do the switch, you need to turn Nemeth mode off. So you do backspace N, and then you're back in UEB Braille. So our Nemeth math entry is actually separate from the UEB Braille, which makes our setup a nice one. And the Braille Sense remembers where in a document you've enabled and disabled Nemeth. And we can kind of get into that if you guys, need that as well, because I know that's a bit, how we do it is it works. It's so we can get into that.
So Andy, if you want to touch on what happens on the other side of that, if you've got UEB and Nemeth in a document, maybe it's a student and they're turning an assignment to their sighted teacher, what does the sighted teacher receive when they get that file from the student? What does it look like?
Well, if the student follows the typical protocol, so it's saved in the appropriate format and then opened up on a computer in Microsoft Word and printed out, it's going to look exactly the same as what any other student submits. The signs are going to look correct. There's not going to be any of the signs that come with some of the competitive note takers, like open and close crack, for example, where you kind of need a teacher of the visually impaired to translate in some instances. This can be handed in. directly and graded with the rest of the batch of papers and returned to the student. So again, you save in the appropriate format. You would then open that file in Microsoft Word on a computer. You would print it out, and it's going to look just as any other assignment would look when handed in.
Right. So you're not going to see SQRT instead of the square root sign, things like that.
You will not. The signs will appear just as they should, and again, it's you can avoid a loop and having a TBI look at it and then get it ready to be handed in. It can just be handed in and a layer of bureaucracy avoided.
And our next question, Louis, can the Braille Sense support multiple languages, and how do you switch between them?
So it can. Now, the way we do this, though, is if you're using the English firmware, you can read and write in various different languages. You can also edit documents using specified languages. So if you're trying to read and write in a specific language, you'll have to do two things to get this to work properly, depending on your preference. You need to change the Braille code, but you also need to change the language, which is for the speech. And so the way to do the Braille code is going to be backspace enter B until you get to the desired language, and that's going to change the Braille display for the document that you're reading. And then to change the actual voice so that it reads properly in the chosen language, you're going to do backspace enter with V, and that should allow you to get to a list of languages on the voice side of things. And remember, this is only for reading and writing and naming documents. The rest of the system is going to be in the language of the firmware that your machine is running. So if you're running English, the rest of the system, our prompts and everything will be in English. This is only for documents. If it turns out you need to actually do some writing in a particular, like you want to mix languages or just write an entire document in a language, the best thing to do is when you open the document, you're going to need to either do a select all to select the entire document, or you're going to need to put your cursor at the beginning where the selection should start. And then you want to navigate to the end of the selection, and then you need to do, see, and I think it's backspace, spacebar, and the letter I. Let me actually do that now to be sure, because I don't use this very much. But basically what you're doing is you're editing the language attribute after making your selection. So for example, if I wanted to write a document in Spanish, I have one open, I'll select all the text, and I did that by doing enter with A, and then I'm going to edit the language attribute. And that keystroke, I was totally wrong. It's actually backspace enter with I to jump into this. So you've got to do the selection first, and then you can get into the edit language attribute. And so it shows select edit language, and now I'm going to just scroll down until I get to my desired language, which is Spanish. And then I can press enter. Now my selected text, when I read and write, will be written in Spanish. I don't actually know Spanish, and this is a blank document. So, but if anyone wants to try it on their own system, see if it works, it should. You might also need support formatting turned on, and that is in your word processor's settings menu. So to get in there, you would press enter with E. And the first thing you see is view format characters. The hotkey for that is F. You can change that to yes, but if you hit F again, you would turn that to yes. That way when you save your document to a Microsoft Word, your formatting, language attributes, they should all be in effect when you open this on a regular computer.
And then a couple more questions about the word processor while you're sort of in that area. We want to know if you can insert symbols, such as the symbol for an arrow or shape, into a UEB document.
So it almost sounds like they're asking about emojis.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be, or you know those symbols that come up in Microsoft Word, you've got just the degree sign, and you can pull out the other, not like the dollar sign, but for other currencies and things like that. I think that's what she's talking about, is those symbols that come in Word. Is there a way to get that through the word processor?
You would actually have to know those, depending on which language you're reading and writing in. We don't actually have a list of obtaining those. I'm assuming the UEB symbol should work. I've actually...
I couldn't speak for other languages, but where English is concerned, it should work.
Yeah, that was my thought too.
It was a language arts assignment with arrows. And I know, Louis, you kind of touched on it, but there's a keyboard combination for all of those little things. And I don't know, you might want to just, if you Google keyboard combination for arrows, or contact support and Louis offline, and he can help you specifically with that question. But I think we're going to have to do some research.
Specific symbols we would need to take offline, but generally speaking, where it comes to UEB and symbols, at least for English, we should be able to make those work.
Right. So after the webinar, if you want to send an email over to support@hims-inc.com, that goes to real people who check a real box. It's not just some massive company box that doesn't get checked. So email over there after the webinar, or give a call to our toll-free number, and they'd be happy to help you out on that. Another question in the Word document, or in the word processor, I'm sorry. Is there a way to select a specific font and font size in a doc file that you've created on the Braille Sense?
Yes. So make sure support formatting is turned on in the word processor settings. So you do Enter E, and then you'll hit F to get to the support format characters.
Yes, list item.
So, sorry, support formatting.
Support formatting documents. Yes, list item.
So I've set mine to yes, and I'll press Enter to save these.
Completed.
So now, in order to use this, you're going to need to actually, again, select the text that you need, the font styles or sizes or anything like that changed in. So a select all is Enter A, or if you need a specific selection, just move your cursor to the beginning of where you want to start the selection and use Enter B. So that's dots 1 and 2, enter with B, or on a QWERTY keyboard, that would be Control B. And then you move your cursor to where you want the selection to end. And if you press
Select all completed.
Enter,
Okay. Computer cancel. Setting dialog.
if you press backspace with M after making your selection, backspace with M is actually going to jump you into this nice little dialog. So I'll do a backspace M now so you can kind of hear exactly what it shows.
Select all completed. Setting dialog. Not page, but 185. List item.
So I have 85 fonts I can choose from, and I can scroll through these because it's a regular list box. Right now, no font is selected, but just to give you an idea of what's here.
Adding 10285. Aerial 385. Aerial 485. Aerial 585. Aerial Ruby Code 685. List item.
And I know
So
most...
there's 85 different fonts there.
Yes. Yep. And then once you're done selecting the font you're interested in,
Over 7285. List item.
I can also hit Tab,
Size of 117. List item.
and I have 17 sizes now that I can choose from.
8 through 17.
So I have size 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, so I can adjust the size. And then once
Those
I...
are your points.
Yes. So you got 12 point, 14 point. And then once you've selected that, you can hit Tab. And I have 142 colors. Right now, no colors selected. But there's aqua, aquamarine, so you can choose the colors you want. Now, once you've selected your color, you hit Tab again. Now, underscore, this allows for underlining text that you've selected. So that's either off or on. And then once you've had your desired setting, you hit Tab again. You can bold the selected text, that's on or off. And I hit Tab again, and I see italicized. I can have that on or off. And I have my confirm button to actually make the changes. There's also hotkeys if anyone's interested for new paragraph, new page, and centerings. We get asked those a lot too.
Another related question, is Tab a key or is it a keyboard command?
Yeah, it is both.
But I wasn't being funny there, Louis, but I was just thinking, you know, it is a commonly used keystroke, not only with note takers, but with Braille displays and screen readers as well. But so, and it's also a key that's it would be, if you're on the standard Braille Sense of the U2 note taker, it'd be F3, so it'd be function key 3 that would serve as your tab key.
Yep.
And does the accordion model have an actual tab key on the keyboard there?
It does. Yes. And it's just above the caps lock where you'd expect it to be.
Oh, and then we've got some more questions in the PowerPoint concerning the word processor, like how do you cut, copy, paste? What are the keyboard commands for that?
So if you're on a Braille keyboard, our Enter key serves as a control key. So just like on a standard keyboard, you'll start your selection in that PowerPoint the same way you would other text document. So Enter A selects all. Enter B starts the selection from where the cursor is. After you've made your selection or moved the cursor to the end, Enter C lets you copy text, Enter X lets you cut the text to the clipboard, and then Enter V lets you paste the text somewhere else. But remember, in the PowerPoint, it only views the PowerPoint presentation, so if you're trying to modify something, if you try to save it, the Braille Sense is actually going to ask you if you want to convert it to a standard format.
And then the terminal clipboard, is it more, when do you use that, and what are the benefits?
So the kind of the main reason I can think of, and Andy, if you think of any that I miss here, just feel free to chime in.
Okay.
But some people find the way we do editing and the way Apple does editing slightly different. So we both handle the task of keyboard entry and editing and translation a bit differently. So if you're used to how we edit text, you can use our terminal clipboard to type in anything you need to say in a text message or anything you need to search for in a search box. Do all of your editing, and then when you submit your entry by doing Enter S, it will actually type that in to the edit box that is activated on your iOS device. I think another, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, Andy travels a lot, and I know, Andy, you travel with your phone, your computer, your
yeah.
Do you want to touch a little bit as a user? How do you use that, and kind of what do you think of it?
Well, one of my main uses for it, like Louis said, is pasting text to the iPhone. Those of you that know me know that I do like the iPhone a good deal, but I'm not necessarily an iPad guy, just because I think the editing gets tough sometimes. I think it's difficult sometimes if you're a slow Brailer, voiceover. There are some translation issues that can be associated with it. So what the clipboard really enables is to take a big block of text, whether it's a text message or something you want to paste into a note or something you want to do, maybe you have it already on your Braille Sense. You can copy that, paste it into the edit field, wait for a couple seconds, and boom, it's done. So you're not relying on VoiceOver for any Braille translation whatsoever, and that to me is the key benefit of it. And to further, I guess one more benefit would be if you're in a noisy environment, you're going to find it very difficult to text or receive. Well, receiving's not really relevant here, but you're going to find VoiceOver to be very difficult in places where it's crowded. So having the advantage of feeling that Braille display, typing in the text you want, and not having to worry about dictation, using the keystroke to send it to the iPhone, the Enter S, and boom, you're ready to go. So it's just an easier way to, when you're typing more than a 1 or 2 word response, to ensure that things are getting done correctly. Did that answer the question? I mean, I was trying to give you some real-life examples.
Yeah, I think that was pretty good.
I liked it, yeah.
Looking at this slide, I think we covered a lot of this. We've already touched on the keystrokes to switch Braille code on the fly. All right. How do you pair your Braille Sense U2 with an iOS device?
So with this one, you want to be sure that the Braille Sense is in terminal mode first. So to get there, you want to make sure your device is showing File Manager first. So you can push F1.
File Manager F.
And then if you go, you can hit the space bar until you get to Utilities, or push the letter U. We'll keep it simple, so I'll hit the space bar a few times and end up at Utilities.
Word processor, documents, email, media, organizer, web rule, social network expert, library, game, programs, utilities, two.
And then I'll press Enter.
Calculator, C.
And the first thing I see is Calculator, so I'll keep hitting space until I get to Terminal for Screen Reader, or I can hit the letter S to jump there.
Display, wake up alarm, calendar, stopwatch, terminal for Screen Reader, S.
And I am there, so when I hit Enter,
Word with serial port, B, list item.
so it's asking me how I want to connect to a screen reader. If you're using an Android or an iOS device, currently the only option is Bluetooth serial port. If you're on a QWERTY device, you would actually use Bluetooth serial port with mobile devices. Now, even on the Braille device, you can use that as well. It doesn't matter which Bluetooth connection on the Braille devices you choose, but the only one for the QWERTY is Bluetooth serial with mobile device. Regardless, you want to press Enter, and it turns on Bluetooth. It says connecting and then terminal mode. Now the Braille Sense can't do anything with it. It's just frozen. It is actually waiting for me to pair with my iOS device. So from my iPhone, I would go into my settings screen, and then I would navigate down to General. I'd activate the General button, and then I'd navigate down to Accessibility button. I would activate that. I would then navigate to my VoiceOver On button. Now most people get a little scared because they think if they touch that button, it's actually going to toggle VoiceOver. It does not. It actually opens another screen. So I activate VoiceOver On button, and on this screen, I will find a Braille button. It's kind of
toward the bottom.
Yeah, like, would you say, what, bottom center maybe, or?
That's a good guess. Yeah, I mean, maybe off a little bit, but that's a good reference.
Yeah, so.
And you know, when we're on these screens and iDevices, you got to work from reference points.
Exactly. Or you can just do the handy flick from left to right until you find what you're looking for.
Right.
I'm usually sticking with that one, but regardless, once I find Braille, I double tap it to activate it. It's a Braille button. and then my Braille Sense shows up as Braille Sense U2 followed by 4 more numbers. And when I activate this, my phone will ask for a PIN code. I find, as a blind person, the easiest PIN code to use is 1111 because it's closest to the pair button. And the other reason is the iPhone times out in 15 seconds. So if you're not relatively fast with this, you could become frustrated because the phone will keep saying unsuccessful when you probably haven't done anything.
Or you just about the time you get that 4th number entered, you run out of time.
Exactly.
So that's another reason to be consistent. If you do this across multiple devices, try to use the same code, for example, and try to always remember what that is, because even though once you're paired, you shouldn't have to do this very often, it's still a way to make your life a lot easier.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. So after doing your PIN code on the phone, you need to activate the pair button. And remember, the phone is still counting the seconds before it times out. So when you do pair, your Braille Sense will then ask you for a PIN code, and using computer Braille, you need to do the same PIN code that you did on the phone. And you've got to press enter when you're done. Otherwise, the pairing will be unsuccessful.
And if you need let's go through a quick explanation of computer Braille, Louis. So it'd be no number signs.
Correct. Your numbers are dropped. So
they're dropped, but no number signs.
Correct.
So, for example, a .1 is .2, and the number 2 is .2 and 3. So numbers are dropped, and there's no number sign in front of them.
You got it. Yep.
And once you pair it, do you have to do this all the time, or does it stay that setting?
So what I've found to work here is you should not have to do this all the time. There are times where you will need to do it again. And those times usually include if one of the devices batteries go completely dead, you upgrade one of the devices, or one of them needs some sort of factory reset. So to keep from going through this headache, it's very important to follow the steps for disconnecting from a pair and reconnecting your paired devices. Otherwise, you will be frustrated every time. So to disconnect, make sure you lock the iPhone first, and then to exit terminal mode, you can either hit F1 if you need to do something in the background, or to get out of terminal mode completely, you can do backspace, the letter Z, and the space bar all at the same time. When you're ready to come back to using your iPhone with your Braille Sense to avoid pairing again, make sure you're in terminal mode first. Make sure one of the Bluetooth connections are selected, and you activate them, and it says it has to say terminal mode on the display. And then when you unlock the phone, it will automatically find your Braille Sense from that point on.
And you'll get a little beeping noise to know that they've synced up.
Yes, and terminal mode usually disappears off the display.
So under normal circumstances, if I don't reset my phone, like if I set this up today and I come back and I want to go into terminal mode and use it with my phone tomorrow, I don't have to pair it again tomorrow.
You shouldn't have to, unless what Louis said, you experienced one of those conditions. One of the devices had to be upgraded, you restored it to factory defaults, or the batteries ran so low that you had zero charge.
Okay. And I really like the summary on the PowerPoint. So I'm gonna read this real quickly before we move on. In pairing with the iOS, it says make sure your Braille Sense U2 is powered on, Bluetooth is activated, and it's in terminal mode. On your phone, navigate to Settings, General, Accessibility, VoiceOver, and then Braille. And then if your Bluetooth is not activated on the iPhone, it'll actually prompt you to do this. And when Bluetooth is activated, the iPhone will search for devices, and it should pop up with your Braille Sense U2 in the list of available devices there. The note taker will ask you for the PIN code first, and then type that same PIN code into the iPhone, press enter, and then you'll hear a chime on the iPhone, and text will be displayed on the iPhone. The text displayed on the iPhone should appear on the Braille Sense display, and that's how you know that you've done it right.
And for those of you who are sighted on the iPhone, you'll also see a check mark by your Braille display once it's paired. Yeah, Android is a little different, unfortunately, just because of how Android works. It's not as straightforward as iOS. So on Android, make sure BrailleBack is downloaded and installed from Google Play first. And then once that's done, again, you'll have your Braille Sense in terminal mode, but make sure from Android you're actually going to pair from their Bluetooth screen under settings. You won't get Braille right away, but once you're paired to Bluetooth, if you go under accessibility, you need to enable BrailleBack as one of the services. And some phones and tablets like mine require you to search for a checkbox that says checkbox turn on or enable BrailleBack. It actually makes you search for that. But once it's checked, it finds your Braille Sense, and actually on Android they don't care how you shut down or disconnect. Even if you do an upgrade, your Android remembers that you were paired with a Braille display and it just automatically works. If you upgrade the Braille Sense, unfortunately, you will have to pair again with your Android device.
Setting up your email on the Braille Sense U2. I'm going to read through this, and then I'm going to suggest that those who have further questions about doing this, email support or give a call over there, and Lewis can walk you through. But just to save time, because like I said, I've got a bunch of user questions, and they're good questions too. So setting up your email on the Braille Sense U2, first you want to open the email application, and then you press Alt or F2, scroll up to your tools, and press Enter to activate it. Press Enter again to activate your account manager, and then you press the letter A to add a new account, so A for account. Choose the server type from the list. If the type of server you send or receive email from isn't in the list, you want to choose manual. And then you'll just tab and fill out the fields necessary to set up your email account, which usually your network admin or your web host, if you use Comcast or Gmail, they'll tell you what those settings are. So that you just enter those in there, and then you answer each field using the space.4 or the down arrow to proceed to the next field. And don't forget to check under the advanced settings by pressing tab to make sure the connection ports and the security types are set correctly. And again, your network admin, if those are things that you have to check, if you have a specific port or a security type, that's something that they'll let you know, so you'll know what to put there when you get there.
And then just so,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Well, I'm saying, just so they're aware, for those of you who use Google, they're so common. They are actually one of the settings that we actually provide the information for right inside of the Braille Sense if you use Gmail or Google.
So you just enter your email address and your password for Gmail then, right?
Correct. Yeah, because it'll do the rest for you.
And then when you're done with all the settings, you're going to press tab to activate the confirm button. And in the advanced, you'll need to activate the confirm button when you land on it advanced again, and then tab to activate that as well. Okay, and here, this is related to some of the user questions, so this is good. What type of Wi-Fi connections can the Braille Sense connect to? So if you want to answer that, and then I'll tell you the user question that goes along with this.
Sure. So we support most of the personal type of Wi-Fi connection. So common home setups is what we support. So we can do WEP. We can do WPA with AES encryption. We can do WPA2 with AES or TKIP encryption. We can support the 2.4 gigahertz networks, and we support the B, G, and N protocol with the U2. If you're on an older unit, N is not supported, so your network won't be found. I don't know, would it be helpful to go into what we don't support?
Possibly. Let me.
Yeah, let's do it real fast. Just to give
Okay.
people a real quick idea, Lewis.
Yes, and hopefully too, you know, this will be, we're still looking into solutions for these. Kind of the common ones the U2 currently doesn't like are WPA and WPA2 Enterprise. Those are connections where they ask for both a username and a password. So a couple ways around that. You can always use your iPhone as a hotspot, but if you're worried about data, you would need to talk to your admin to see if they can associate your MAC address with their particular router. And we also don't support 5GHz networks. And then, let's see, as far as passcodes go, if your Wi-Fi is so fancy where it does like 64-bit encryption, we don't go that high yet. And then we also don't care for routers that like to do two kinds of connections from the same router. So what I mean by this is Comcast, they like to do the main router and then they like to do a guest. We find that the U2 sees the guest. It sees that signal more stronger than the actual main signal. So if you can disable your guest, that would help. And then also, kind of the last point here is we also don't care for routers, again, Comcast being one, that do both WPA and WPA2. You've got to choose one or the other.
I actually have Comcast at my house, and we've got multiple PCs and Macs here, and my computers do the same thing. They want to connect to the guest network first, and I keep telling it not to, but every so often I have to remind my computer to use the actual network, not the guest one.
Ah, gotcha. That's actually good to know.
Too. And then we have a user question. It sounds like it might be a specific an issue, but Karen says she has two devices. One of her students has been using her mini at home with the Wi-Fi, but now it doesn't work. What should they do? She gave her the other one for now. She needs to make sure that it works next year.
Right. Now, has your student commented about the other one? Is that one working? Because I'm thinking with the mini, if the other one is working, we'll probably just need to start by doing a hard reset on the mini and or having her remove her home profile and just re-entering the password again. That's probably the simplest place to start.
The second unit that the girl has right now is working, but the first one that she was using is not. So
yeah, so we probably want to do that hard reset or yeah, we probably want to start there and or remove her home profile from the first one and add it back in there when she gets home.
Because if you go to and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Lewis, but if you have a network that you take one of these devices on all the time and then you move to a different location, when it's first trying to set up, it's going to try to look for the internet that it typically or frequently logs into.
That is correct, and if it can't find that, it'll just keep going through your list of visited profiles, and it'll try to connect. Yeah. So sometimes, not all the time, but just every once in a while, it's necessary to remove your profile when it starts acting this way and just resetting it up with the password again.
Okay. Well, Karen says she's going to try and see what she can do. And Karen, also, if you want to call into our office in Texas, the guys will be happy to walk you through it on the phone, just so you know that you're pushing the right buttons and doing the right things. Okay, so back to terminal clipboard, or terminal mode, sorry. Is the process for pairing with a PC the same? And what's the most compatible voiceover PC software to use with the Braille Sense?
So
voiceover and PC don't quite go together.
yeah, they're two different ones.
Yeah.
But I mean, Lewis, you can expound on what I'll get us started here. But if you want to connect your Braille Sense to a PC and go through terminal mode, it's going to be able to work with JAWS, Window Eyes,
Right.
the Dolphin Supernova products, NVDA, Serotech. Am I missing anything here? I mean, any screen reader somebody would have, it's going to work with it.
You hit it right on the nose. Yep.
Yep. Yeah, and I think she was using the word voiceover kind of as
Oh, like screen reader.
descriptive word, not a brand name. So yeah, screen reader. And what's the process? What do you do if you want to pair your Braille Sense to your PC?
Again, you want to make sure you're in terminal mode, and then on the PC, under Control Panel, you need to go into the Bluetooth connections, and then you'll see there's an icon there that says Add a Bluetooth device. So when you go there, your Braille Sense should pop up as an available device. Now, when you add it, you do not want your PC to choose the code for you. You've got to enter the code in manually. You should see an option on your Windows system that does that once you add your Bluetooth device. But once it's paired, then depending on the screen reader you're using, you need to add your Braille Sense as a Braille display to that screen reader. For some screen readers, they're able to find it by themselves after you add. For others, you might need to know the Bluetooth COM port. So it's best to find that out once you add the device. If you missed it, you can always go under Properties under your added device to find the incoming and outgoing COM ports.
And if you're just connecting the USB cable, like to your computer, you would of course plug that in, and then you would have to make the appropriate selections of your screen reader. For example, that you were using the Braille Sense as your Braille display, and it may be that before everything would take place or would sync up accordingly, you may have to unload and reload your screen reader.
Yes.
And then, not exactly related, but a question from a bit back I want to cover, how do you hook up a VGA monitor to your Braille Sense?
So those are usually plug and play devices. So you've got to find a VGA monitor that will allow you to connect through a USB or has some sort of adapter that'll, do the USB connection to another device. And so once you connect it to the Braille Sense, you want to do space with O on a Braille keyboard or push F10 because you got to get into the global options. And then if you hit the letter D, as in display, you'll see it says video display off or on. Usually it's off. If you're not seeing anything, most likely it's off. So once you find video display, you hit the space bar to turn that on. And then when you hit enter to actually save, that's when you'll start seeing the text on the VGA. And remember, with the VGA, you can see the full PowerPoint and you can see a full Word document. The rest of the system will be one line of text.
Well, and I was going to mention, too, I know when you guys do the PowerPoint presentations at the different conferences, using the PowerPoint on the Braille Sense, a lot of times the projector they give you is a VGA connector. So I think most of the guys have that adapter. You just go to Best Buy or Walmart or whatever, and they have that VGA to HDMI or VGA to, well, not HDMI probably for Braille Sense, but you can get those adapters. And the guys get in there, and it takes them just a couple of minutes to plug it in and get it going. So it's a quick process, and I'm sure they do it all the time, so they probably know that process like the back of their hand.
Yeah, especially Andy there, so.
Well, the only thing I would say is you can do everything right, but it's always good to have that visual confirmation that they're seeing what you think they should be seeing.
Yes.
So always a good idea to ask.
Right. Okay, so let's see how many. Okay, we made it through all of our questions and answers. I thought we weren't going to make it, and we're only 10 minutes over, so that's good. And we haven't lost our audience. so we've been answering good questions. We are going to hang out on the line right now and let you guys ask any additional questions. I'm watching the chat window. If you want to unmute yourself, I have everyone muted right now. If you want to unmute yourself and ask a question out loud, you can. The mute button is not super friendly for screen readers, and we do apologize. It's unfortunately an issue that WebEx needs to work on that we've reported to them. But the chat window is accessible. So if you have a question, enter it in the chat window, unmute yourself and introduce yourself, and you can ask the question aloud. Or if all else fails, shoot an email over to webinars@hims-inc.com. So it's webinars@hims-inc.com. And I get those emails immediately, and if I get it while we're still on the line, we will answer it live. And if I get an email later today, I'll forward it on to Lewis, and he can answer you offline. Okay, and she said, wonderful, you are all very helpful. Another comment, great webinars, thank you very much.
Oh, no problem.
So Andy, while we're waiting for some questions to come through, do you want to touch quickly on kind of the place of the note taker in the schools these days? Like, where does it fit in? How are students using it? And where, what are the main benefits there?
Well, in the schools, we're getting students that are using note takers for a lot of things. What we're seeing is there have been some instances where school districts tried to teach students with an iPad only, and we're starting to see some repercussions that have gone along with that. So the main benefits to the note taker in the educational arena are things like the Braille access, so syntax. You understand what a sentence should look like. You understand what a paragraph looks like. You learn more about formatting. You also have great access to information with things like our Bookshare download and our NLS, BARD NLS download of books and playback. So you have a lot of access to news and information. You're not having to go look for some Braille book and then carry it around with you and read it. So you have timely access. You also have a lot of help with math. As Lewis talked about earlier with our NIMUS and our UEB functionality being built into the unit. And you also have some applications that would be used, I say mainstream here, but what I'm talking about is just generally people who have sight and people who wouldn't need a note taker. So by that, I'm talking about our Facebook client, our ability to go to YouTube and listen to some of that content, the ability to use Dropbox to exchange files with whether it be colleagues or other teachers that you have. So there's just a lot of benefits when you combine that Braille and speech together, and you have access for note-taking. You have a word processor that is integrated with the Microsoft Word, so that documents can be exchanged between those two. So you just have a good mix of things that are, quote, blind-friendly and things that are also mainstream technologies that are being utilized across the board. And that's the real power of the Braille Sense and using a note taker not only in the educational arena, but also as a professional.
Yeah, I have a question. When will you be coming out with a new update for the Braille Sense U2?
Go ahead, Andy.
I was just going to say, we have been real close to an update for quite a while now, and I couldn't give you an exact date, but I can say that you've been waiting with us for quite a while now, and your wait time for the new release should be much shorter now than longer. So hopefully within the next few weeks.
Okay, and I have one more question. For some reason, and I may have to call in for this, but for some reason, my Braille Sense U2 is not being asked for the code when I try to pair it with my iPhone.
Oh, so try powering that iPhone down first. Yeah.
I did.
Well, so has it also been paired before?
Yes.
Okay. So there's a a couple things you can do here. And you said you've already powered down that iPhone before?
Yes, I just did a while ago. Today.
Okay. So you can try, if you go into Bluetooth Manager under Utilities, try deleting, when you find your iPhone, if it says iPhone Trusted,
Okay.
do a space D on that and try to get rid of the pairing information and then get back in the terminal mode and try again.
Okay. I'll try that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Call us if it doesn't work, though.
Okay.
Here, okay. So if you have questions after the webinar, give us a call. Our sales and support team and all of our North American sales and support services are conducted out of our Austin, Texas office. So we are local. We work during regular business hours, just like you guys do. You're not going to get shipped overseas and get a non-native English speaker. So give us a call whenever you have an issue, and we would love to talk to you. The toll-free number is 888-520-4467. You can visit our new website. It's been up for a few months, but we're constantly adding new features and making improvements to it. It's at HIMS, HIMS-Inc.com. We have a lot of downloads there. We've done a lot of videos lately. You can find them on our YouTube channel, but a lot of the product-related videos, and we have some quick how-to videos. Those are all on video tabs now on the product pages. So if you go to the Braille Sense, for example, we have some videos there that pertain to the Braille Sense, and they're just on the video tab on that product page, so they're very easy to find. If you have questions about a purchase that you'd like to make or features or anything like that, give an email over to sales@hims-inc.com. And if you've got a technical question, support@hims.com. And I'm going to plug our webinar series really quickly. If you have a subject you'd like us to cover, we're always trying to come up with new webinar ideas. And we would love to hear from you what topics you'd like us to cover. So shoot an email to webinars@hims-inc.com if you have an idea. Keep a watch online to hims-inc.com/webinars, and you'll see there all of the webinars that are coming up, topics we have planned. It's pretty quiet, Louis and Andy, so I'm just going to thank you guys both for your time. Louis, this has been great, and you've given great information. Do you have any parting words for our audience?
Yeah, so thanks for participating and you know, definitely asking us some wonderful questions. Just feel free to contact us if you guys need any assistance at all, and someone will definitely get back to you guys.
Great. Thanks, Louis. And Andy, thank you so much for helping out, too.
Yeah.
Hey, I appreciate you having me. I want to thank you to all the people in the audience who participated today. We appreciate you being here. My email, if anyone would need anything from me, I am kind of a Midwest regional guy here at HIMS, so I can be reached at Andy, that's A-N-D-Y, at hims-inc.com. If there's anything I can do for any of you out there, please don't hesitate to shoot me a note, and we'll figure it out from there. Thanks again for having me, and again, thanks to the audience for your participation today.
Yeah,
Look forward to seeing some of you at the summer shows.
Definitely. You guys had some great questions today, and that always makes these webinars a lot more fun for us. So thank you all for your time, and we wish you all the best rest of your week.